Hey, hi, and welcome back. Now let's start with the layout of programmer slash debug header section, and along with that we will complete the layout of or the connections between the microcontroller and 7 segment display driver IC. Okay, so now let's start with this video. Now let's do the connections here. So for that I'm going to use a trace width of 10 mil. Because these connections are connected to the microcontroller, so straight away I will do the connections here. So you always have to, as I told you, you always have to check, the connections in the schematic. So for example, this is MOSI pin. So let's do the connection like this. Then the next pin is MISO pin. Okay, so that's basically the right approach when we do the connection. Now here all the connections in this layout are actually sorted. So straight away I am able to do the connections. But generally this is actually the approach. You should look for a section. And you should look for that particular pin. Okay, so this pin is connected here. Okay, this pin is going like this towards this pin. So we should connect this like this. All right. So this is basically the method to do the connections. Then next pin is SCK pin. So it's going towards this this particular pin of this IC. So we can connect this pin like this. All right. Then the next pin is debug TX pin. So it's going towards this pin. So what I will do now, I will go to the bottom layer first. Or we can directly come from, or we can directly go to the bottom layer. So I will go to the bottom layer here first. So let's go to the bottom layer, and later I will go here. You can actually do the connection even in a even better way. So I'm not saying this is basically the best connection because I'm creating the video. I have to do everything quickly here. So so again, you can do the connection from the bottom layer. Because there is no space. If I go to the top layer and if I try to do the connection, then there is a lot of barrier. Okay, otherwise I have to go like this, then towards this pin. You can see Eagle is actually showing us the path. Okay, so instead of that, what we can do, we can actually go to the bottom layer and we can route the track in the appropriate manner like this. All right, so here I will go to the top layer and I will place the wire and I will do the connection. Now if you see, these pins are actually the pins of UART interface, and these are actually the pins, communication pins, and signals which will travel through these pins are going to be of little higher frequency. Like it can also go up to 1 megahertz. It can also be a frequency of 100 kilohertz. So basically in UART it actually depends on the baud rate. So based on the baud rate, the switching frequency on these signals, the signal which are going to travel through these pins will change. Okay, so what I will do here, I'm just going to increase the spacing between these two tracks. Okay, so that this track, the signal which is actually traveling through this track, it will not influence the signal which is traveling from this track. Okay, so likewise you can increase the spacing between the tracks for the communication interfaces like UART. Okay, so I can lay this track like this. So here there is actually enough spacing now, and later I will just place this track properly. Okay, so I can rip up this track and let me reroute this track, and I will just move this one like this, and let's connect this track now. I will keep enough spacing and later I will connect that track. All right, so this connection is actually more appropriate. Okay, and you can actually fill a ground layer between these two. When we will pour the polygon, or when we will create the polygon, automatically there will be a ground between these two tracks. Okay, so that will actually give you give a better isolation between the signals which are actually traveling from this track and this track. All right, so when we shield the track with the ground, that actually gives even better isolation for the single-ended signal. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Now let's go ahead. So here we are just left with the reset pin now, and for reset pin we can straight away connect this pin, or I can go to the bottom top layer here and we can connect this pin like this. All right, so I will go like this. So let's go to the bottom layer from here, and from here I'm going to connect this track like this towards. You can actually do even better connection. Now as I told you, I'm creating the video, so I have to do it quickly. or there will be definitely a better way of connecting this, on the layout. Alright, so we have connected the reset pin, and now let's connect these air wires. So let me split the screen, and let's do the connection these pins, which is blanking input, display test. So first of all, let's do the simple connections. I will do the connections for ABCD. So ABCD connections are very simple. So you can see these are actually the pins which we have to connect here. Then for B, it will be connected here. Then for C, it will be connected here, and then for D, it will be connected here. So I will start from this, and you can see here we have to connect this particular track here, but this track is actually creating the barrier. Okay, this track is creating the barrier. So what I will do, I will just rip up here, and I will connect this track in. I will connect this particular track after connecting this track on the layout. Okay, so I will just disconnect this one, or I will just rip up, and later I will make the space for this particular track. So this is actually normal. Yeah, you will have to do this multiple times, when you will create the layout for your hardware. And this is actually very normal condition. So let's connect this SSD A pin now, which will be connected here. So let's do the connection. This is actually very straightforward connection. And later the next pin is SSD D. So you can see this will be connected to this particular pin. Now you will observe actually why these connections are straightforward. Okay, so you can see these connections are very straightforward. So there is a reason behind that why these connections are straightforward. I will tell you. First of all, let me connect this track at this point. Okay, so you will feel like, how come the connections are so straightforward? Okay, so this is actually this will actually rarely happen. The connections will not be this straightforward. It might happen this point will be connected here, so there will be a lot of complexity. But now you can see straight away from this point it's connected here, then straight away from this point it's connected here. So when I did the layout, okay, when I did the layout of this hardware or this PCB for the first time, okay, when I was creating the PCB for this training, I actually got a lot of cross connections here. The connections were not straightforward. Okay, from here it was connected to this track, so multiple tracks were actually coming in between. Okay, so what I did, I actually changed the I changed the pin numbers on this schematic editor. So for example, let's say that at this moment this pin A is actually connected here, then pin B of SSD is connected at this 25. So initially what I did, A is connected here, B is connected here, C is connected here, D is connected here. What I did, I connected A to PC5, I connected B to PC4, I connected C to PC3, then I connected D to PC2. So I did this in a sequence. But later while doing the layout, I found that it's actually creating the problem, while doing the layout. Okay, the connections are, crossing each other. So in order to simplify the connections, I did the change on the schematic editor. So once we do the change in the schematic editor, then those changes will reflect in the layout editor also. So we can adapt this particular sequence in the programming. But when we are creating the hardware or when we are doing the layout, it should be, the connections should be straightforward. Okay, so that's why I have done the changes in the schematic, and that's the reason these connections are very straightforward. Okay, otherwise when I did it for the first time, these connections were actually crossing each other. And the same thing happened in case of RGB section also. Okay, so these connections were not straightforward. Okay, so I will show you. So these connections, you can see blue LED is connected here, PD2, then blue is connected here. So what I did, I connected RGB here, then I also go in the same sequence here also, like RGB. And later I found that here it was the connections were actually not straightforward, they were crossing each other. So I did the changes in the schematic, and that's the reason these connections are straightforward here. Okay, we can connect this track directly to this point. This track will be connected directly to this point. This one will be connected to this point. But initially, this was connected to this one. this was connected to this one, and this was going here. Okay, so that was actually the situation. This will happen multiple times when you will do the layout, and it's very normal and it's very obvious. Okay, and you can actually do the consultation with your team. You can mutually decide, and you can, the person who did the schematic, you can ask him whether this particular pin is appropriate, because the person who did the schematic is going to have more information. If you are an individual who is doing the schematic and who is doing the layout, then the decision is actually up to you. You don't have to ask anyone else. Okay, but in team, we actually do the mutual discussion, and then only we take the decision. All right. So this was actually pretty big explanation, but this was necessary. All right. Now let's do the connection for these pins. So first of all, let's check which pins are those. So I will check here. We are left with the blanking input. All right. So this pin is actually, so you can see that's the reason why I don't go for, the white background. Whenever I do the layout, I actually use whenever I am using a layout editor, or whenever I am creating the schematic, I actually go for the black user interface. Okay. So here you can see these wires, air wires are actually properly visible, but on white background, they won't be visible. But now that I am creating the video, this particular cursor that you see, this cursor will not be visible, when I am recording the screen. Okay. That's the reason I have to go for, the white background in both the cases. Okay. So that you can track the cursor, otherwise you won't be follow the video. So let's do the connection now. Let's do this connection. So first of all, let me check where that connection is going. So this is basically blanking input. It's going to 0 ohm resistor, and then this is going towards the MOSI pin. MOSI pin. So this connection is actually, we have to do like this. Alright, so I will do it like this, or the better way of connecting it will be, as we have lot of space here. So what we can do, I will just maximize this one. So we can actually connect this MOSI pin like this towards this point. Okay, instead of doing the connection like this, we can actually connect this MOSI pin towards this particular pin. So but for that, this is actually the barrier which is coming in between, because these two tracks are actually on the bottom layer. For that, we will have to go, because we are laying this particular track on the bottom layer. So what we have to do, we will actually rip up these tracks, and we will do the changes here. So let's do the changes, and first of all, we will keep these tracks on the top layer like this. In the same way, I will do it for RX. Now here, this particular track is coming in between. So likewise, these kind of challenges will come. These are not actually challenges, but this will happen multiple times when you are doing the layout. And so I will place this track here, and later I can actually connect this track like this, or I will connect this track later. First of all, just rip up this track, because this is actually a long connection. So first of all, let's think about this one, and later we will think about rest of the connections. Okay. So let's connect this MOSI, and let's go to the bottom layer, and let me place this wire here, and then I will do the connection like this, and now this particular track is actually coming in between. So I will just rip up this track, because we are actually more concerned about this MOSI track, because now through this particular track we are actually going to control this particular 7-segment display driver IC. So I'm going to connect this track now towards this pin. So for that, I'm going to make a space, or I will go like this, and I will connect it here. You can actually connect this track. You can actually connect this track from, directly from the microcontroller towards this, or you can also connect like this, okay, towards this particular pin. Okay. Now, in the same way, we will do for MISO pin also. So let's do it for MISO pin. So I will go to the schematic editor, and I will check which one is MISO pin. So this is basically the MISO pin, and let's first of all, I will go to the bottom layer here. Let's go to the bottom layer, and let's do the connection. So likewise, I will go towards like this, I already know I have done this connection while creating the previous, layout. That's why I can do it quickly, okay? Otherwise, it's going to take a little time to decide how to lay the track on the layout. All right. So we are done with this particular connection now. So we have connected MISO, we have connected MOSI. Now let's think about this RX and TX. So we were actually doing the RX and TX connection. So let's go to the bottom layer first. So I will place the wire here and later I will do the connection like this. Okay. I will just move this track. In the same way, I will go to the bottom layer here. And let's place the wire and let's do the connection. Now as we discussed, there should be proper spacing between the tracks. So I'm just going to make the space here, okay, between these RX and TX pin. I will just move this SCK pin here. I will keep a equal distance between all the tracks, and later I will move this one here. And I can move this wire at this position. Okay, so there is actually now enough spacing between these two tracks. Alright, so we are done with the connections of RX and TX pin. And in next video, we will complete the connection of this reset pin. Along with that, we will complete the miscellaneous connections. Okay, so now I will see you in the next video.